clip from yesterday's press conference, and also kind of just say our reporters are doing a bang up job, man. Adriana and Nestor, I mean, they are just asking. We only got 2 questions, but the way they're trying to get this information, and all the media are really trying to deal with these limits on accessibility and transparency. I think it's to be commended. So we're going to play this from the press conference yesterday. It's KUAM News' Nestor Licanto.
Go back to the stimulus check question. I know that you had said that you're expecting money from the Treasury the first week of May, but I think that's referencing the $11 million from the war claims. What about, I think it's $134 million that we had requested through the Director of Rev and Tax, Daphne Shimizu, to Treasury. When is that coming in?
Okay, so right now we are advancing that, Nestor, and so we are advancing the checks that we have already put out. And as you know from previous press conferences, that we had to decide how much we could afford and who are the most who are in most need. I know everyone is in a lot of need, but we have to have some kind of guidelines. So we identified those whose adjusted gross income is 10,000 and below, and or dual joint filing of about 150,000. So, sorry, 10,000 and below. So those we already sent out. The 134 million is calculated based on the 2018 filing, and so I think Daphne mentioned it's about 63,000 people, and so that's how they came up with the 134 million. That money we expect to be coming in first week of May.
Oh, okay. So, and then how soon after that will the checks be cut?
Right away.
When can people start to?
Yeah, as soon. See, the holdback in this whole thing is the implementation plan, which Daphne had submitted maybe 3 weeks ago. And so we're waiting for that implementation plan to be approved. Once that plan is approved, they will distribute the monies to us, and then we can distribute the checks right away.
Thank you, Nestor.
Okay, so let's bring Nestor on there. And first of all, Nestor, I don't think you were done talking there, right?
No, I still was trying to clarify. Good morning. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Good morning, yeah.
By the way. Yeah, I think
Hey, no, sorry, can you just speak up a little bit, sir? Thanks.
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Okay.
Okay. What had happened was during the press conference, as you know, we all get one question, one follow-up, and so one of the reporters from the Guam Daily Post, John O'Connor, who was a little bit before me, had asked her the question about the stimulus checks, because that's what I wanted to ask her about too. That was one of my backup questions, and she had mentioned during her response to John that what she had just said in that soundbite that you played, that they're expecting the 134 million stimulus check payment from Treasury the first week of May, and that kind of got my attention because I think a lot of people wanted to know, because ever since we found out that Guam was eligible for these stimulus checks, that was the question we were getting from people. Hey, when are we getting our checks? And so I thought that was pretty significant that she had mentioned the first week of May, which is less than 2 weeks from now. And so that's why I asked her the follow-up question, and then I asked her, so when, and then she responded, as you heard, that we can distribute the checks right away. And so I just wanted to get clarification from Adelup, and we talked a little bit last night, and so did you confirm it again that the governor does expect the $134 million that's was contained in the implementation plan submitted by Rev and Tax Director Daphne Shimizu by the first week of May? But they wanted to, what the clarification they wanted to pass on was the $11 million that they have paid out or are paying out in locally advanced stimulus checks. is part of that 134 million.
Right. Now, so when John O'Connor asked that question, the governor's response to it was that I think she said something like, "We're already paying out the stimulus checks," and that later had to be clarified. I had to shoot a message over to the Adelup press secretary and say, "Hey, the governor kind of made it sound like stimulus checks are getting sent out, but they're actually not. That's an advance payment to those who earn under $10,000 or less." And she said, "Yeah, Daphne is correct that." We're still a couple weeks away from actually implementing this program.
Right, and I think they're waiting for the money from Treasury to revert. And I don't know what those specifics are. If Treasury is going to, electronically transfer 134 million or to one bank or to several banks, or is it going to be I don't imagine it'll be a U.S. Treasury check. I imagine it'll be a check issued by the treasurer of Guam. So I don't know what the details are going to be or how quickly they're going to be able to get those checks out once the money is received from Treasury, and how long it will take to clear, because I imagine a lot of people will want to cash those checks right away so that they can start purchasing stuff. So, yeah.
Man, Nessa, I want to go back to, I want to say it was 2-3 weeks ago, one of the consistent questions that you were asking, that a lot of media were asking, that I was asking, was what are we going to do in the interim as far as local assistance? And the answer we got was, first it was hang in there, and then it was go apply for food stamps. We heard from Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio that over 1,200 new people
applications were approved.
Right, are approved and for the SNAP benefits. But I think a lot of us were
wait. No, I was going to say it's not just SNAP; it's Medicaid and other.
Right, and but I think a lot of us were kind of thinking that the money was going to come, yesterday. And so now when you hear that it's still a couple weeks away, and, I'm engaging that with everything else they said, I mean, whether or not it really is a couple weeks away remains to be seen. She also had said stuff about the PUA and the FPUC also being several weeks away. So I don't know, do we kind of need to renew the question again and say, hey, what have you done everything you could to give the people some kind of bridge assistance here, or?
I don't know if there is any bridge assistance that's going to be available at this point. I don't know if there's money in the bank, so to speak, locally to be able to fund those, or that's cash that's being held for other purposes, like to cover, payroll, political services, that sort of thing. We don't know. There's been no mention of any bridge. What has been mentioned is what you just said earlier, that it's the SNAP, the Medicaid, and those are all pretty much federal programs.
Right. Yeah.
And we know all along that the primary source of our assistance is going to come from the federal government.
Right.
But I thought it was significant that she had in mind a date already for when she expects to get the 134 million for the federal stimulus checks, because people are waiting for that 1,200 and 2,400 and 500 for the kids.
Right. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's when she answered John O'Connor's question, she had said, the checks are going out. I think even the kids are getting them. And you saw it in real time, Nestor. If you go back and look at the comments, people were, because, again, like Tomas said, we got nothing else to do but to sit here and pay attention. People were kind of like, hey, that's not what's happening. No, that's... And then some people were like, are they sending them out? So it's just a lot of confusion.
Yeah. Well, just to be clear, you're right. What is going out right now in the form of so-called stimulus checks are local advances. And that's amounts to about $11 million. And that's what I wanted to clarify with her. So the money that she said was she was expecting to come in on the first week of May, is that the $11 million that's due from Treasury for the war claims reimbursement, or was it the $134 million that Daphne had put into the implementation plan to Treasury? And so she responded with that she's expecting $134 million on the first week of May, which is about a week and a half from now.
Okay. And so I understand that there was some clarification that had come down, Nessa, and this isn't the first time where the Adelup staffers and the advisors have had to go around after a press conference where the governor says something and then kind of clean up what she said. Was that what happened with you? Because it's what happened with me and what the governor said during the press conference. I had to go shoot a message over to Crystal and be like, "Hey, did she really say that? And what does she mean?"
Yeah, it's just let's just call it just clarifications that we typically do as part of our job
Right.
as reporters.
Right.
Just need to make sure that we get it right, and that was important. That I knew exactly what the governor meant, because I didn't want to put out there something that because as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are waiting for this and have been waiting for a while.
Okay.
So I wanted to make sure on that day. But if we got time, I do want to mention a couple of things.
Could you just speak up a little bit? Sorry, we're just having a
Okay.
problem here.
Sorry, must be my connection here. So I just wanted to mention a couple of things that also have to do with assistance. The Senate passed today another stimulus package, $485 billion. $60 billion will go to the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, the EIDL program, and $310 billion to the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP. And I think a lot of local businesses have applied for these. Just want to let them know that the House still has to sign off on it, which will happen Thursday, Friday, our time. That's what's projected, and the president has already indicated that he will sign it. But they need to go to their banks now and let them know, because it's going to be like last time. This thing, according to the pundits, will go pretty fast. So get your applications in order, as Ken Luan said, and go see your banks and let them know that you want to apply for these two particular.
Right. Bring them donuts and coffee.
Bring them donuts and coffee. Yeah.
All right. Okay, Ness. Thank you so much.
All right. You guys stay safe. See you soon.
Right. Nestor Licanto from the
Thanks, Ness.
KUM news team. Hey,
Are you
840.
unmuting me?
No, I just because it was hard to hear. I'm practicing for a job at Adelup where there's
Okay.
mute people. You know, that was interesting. When we played that clip, you could hear people whispering in the background.
Yeah.
So was that us or was that them?
No. That was the Adelup people.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
it wasn't
Probably
us.
like mute that Nestor Licanto.
No, that wasn't Nestor, because Nestor was asking the question.
Right. Yeah. Interesting.
You hear
8:40
them sometimes doing that.
Yeah.